are now tuned in to the Free Play Media Podcast Network.
We're live. Chris Denman, I'm going one-on-one today. We've got our buddy Dan Soder, and you can go to Helium, see him all weekend long. If the shows haven't sold out yet, our buddy Rafe Williams is with Dan. Go check him out. It's going to be a really fun weekend. People are pumped about it. You know him from Billions. You know him from a million different things on Netflix. Dan, awesome to see you, man.
Yeah,
really
man.
Appreciate you coming in.
I appreciate you having me in here for the acoustic session.
Right? That's what we're saying. Do you have your coffee ready?
Yeah, I'm ready to play some of my jokes with one of those brush drumsticks.
Yes. But I don't get to laugh though.
Yeah,
I have to nod approvingly.
You have to snap like it's a poetry reading.
We can do that. So Gaslight, kind enough to have us here today.
This is badass.
This is cool too, and the purple lights kind of bring out your cheekbones.
This makes me feel way more important than I actually am. So it's just
I don't know. You're on the list of really funny tall guys that I could hang out with, man. Like I'm into that.
Eat
I'm
a dick, Dirk Nowitzki. I don't care how funny people say you are.
Yeah.
I'm funny. No.
I hear he's great. So you were telling me you were originally from Denver.
Yeah, I grew up in Aurora.
In New York. You've been in New York for how long?
Close to 12 years.
12 years. That's a hell of a scene, man. And then you're on Billions, which I'm sure you get this a lot doing the interviews that you do. I have fallen in love with interviews with your boy Brian Koppelman.
He's great.
Holy cow, that guy's talented, right?
Listen to The Moment, his podcast.
Yes.
Great podcast. He is a great person and led an incredible life and an incredible person to work for.
Right.
Really, in this business, you see it's really important from the top down for things to be good. You kind of also to have a good work environment.
Yeah.
It starts from the top down. And him and David Levine have created such an incredible work environment that you get really sad. We're coming up, we're starting the season finale, to film the season finale next week, and it's like, I'm bummed because I'm going to miss my buddies. I'm going to miss the crew, the cast. I mean, there's just so many fun people to hang out with, and I really give credit to Koppelman and Levine for creating that environment. And
for them to create that and it to trickle down to be getting paid for something that's also fulfilling.
Yeah.
Kind of the American dream. I mean, really.
Doing stand-up for a job was something that I always dreamed about and still really, really appreciate.
Yeah.
So the other stuff is just, man, that's just, as my friend Eli says, extra cheese on the taco. That's just...
It's so fantastic, too. Yeah. And to be a part of something that, Paul Giamatti is a big part of that, too.
Damian Lewis, David Costabile, Maggie Siff. I mean, the cast, Kelly O'Coin, Daniel Isaac, Asia K. Dillon. There's just beasts.
Certainly. And if you have that feeling, too, I mean, I know... famously, I'm sure you guys are jealous of the atmosphere Ellen puts on for her shows. I mean, everybody loves working for her, right? That's one of those things. You have those things.
I really don't know that, so I'm like, do they not like it? They hate it?
There's been a bunch of horror stories
really?
About that. Yeah, but it's one of those things where...
Does she dance her evilness into, does she come in the room dancing and she's like, you've been fired. Like, Ellen, God, please.
Oh, this is your dream job. Cool, you didn't fill the coffee up. Out of here.
You got 2 weeks. You're gone. Ellen dances her way out.
This is Steve from HR. Get to know him a little better because you're fucking gone.
Yeah. No severance package. And
you're getting hit with harassment too. No, and
That's a bummer to hear though, man, because I think comedians a lot of times eat a lot of shit on the way up.
Yes.
So I think it's like when someone makes it as a comedian, you just hope that they kind of keep that humility about them. And I think there's a lot of comedians who have, and I think it's just beaten into you when you're on the road.
You have to, too, because you're always one bad set or one failed audition away from getting put in your place, whether it's fair or not. And not even put in your place, just downgraded or just you whiff, which happens, right?
I try to tell people that this is a great business to work in. It's fun. You're with a lot of great people, but it is a business of no's.
Absolutely.
And it is very hard to hear no consistently. So you just kind of have to be like, well, then I'm going to keep going.
It is what it is.
Yeah.
I spoke to a friend yesterday who was on a CBS comedy for 6 seasons and they got canceled. and he's working. It's pilot season right now.
Gotta get back out there.
Like, and he's getting back out there. But at the same time, it's like he can't book some stand-up dates right now, or he can't.
So that's where I think it really becomes like, I really think that's where you kind of choose your lot in life.
Yeah.
Because no one takes away stand-up from me.
Right.
Billions has been very great, but I've also been very firm with the fact it's like, I'm a comic. I love being able to act whenever I get the opportunity, but that ain't going to stop. And I understand, like, if I got a much more significant role on a show, it would probably have to be different. But
then also you can shift, and all of a sudden maybe you're in a position that you've got a private jet to a Saturday show every.
Well, yeah,
you know?
and I think you can get you get as high as Louis got when he had, before the fall. But I watched Schumer do stand up while making a successful TV show in a hit movie. So it's like, don't tell me you can't do stand-up. You can do stand-up. You just kind of have to. I think there's a lot of comics that really use, I'm not going to say a lot, but I think there are a certain sect of comedians that are using comedy to get that acting role.
Correct.
Or to get on TV, and then they use that convenience of like, when am I going to do stand-up? And it's like, get out of here, you phony asshole.
Speaking of phony, too, but you also have people that go, and I don't know if it's their management or whomever, you get popular on something like, why don't you go give stand-up a whirl?
I want to
As if you can do that.
I want to fist fight all of those agents and managers that recommend that. I want to fist fight the people, the failed celebrities that try it.
Right.
Just because I love stand-up and I have such an admiration and love for comedians, no matter how.
That's forged in failure and the suffering that I'm assuming you've went through to get where you're at too, right?
I mean, it's
one of those,
definitely,
you've built that, and it's like you can't just walk in here.
But it's also the greatest thing in the world.
Right.
It's like what I spend it's the reason I don't have a personal life. It's just like I just spend my time. I like being at comedy clubs. I like being, the road's fun for me. Even when it's a lot and you got to travel, it's just like, I love, my favorite people in the world are comedians, and the fact that I get to be one is so great. So when someone tries to be like, well, I'm going to try it, it's like, man, fuck you. It's offensive as if someone was like, I like your family. I'm going to start living at your house and be your family. And you're like, you're not my family.
Right. It's weird though, because, and I guess that maybe it's I was going to say it's like a guy saying like, oh, I played a little basketball in college. I'm going to go try and be a fighter in the UFC.
So it's
like, what do you think you're going to do?
That's an analogy I use a lot of times, where it's like, comedians are at the boxing gym every day, and then we're out fighting smokers or small casino fights, just getting the shit kicked out of us. And then it's like a celebrity being like, celebrity boxing. And you're like, you get in our ring, we will kill you.
Right.
Like, we will kill you.
Like, have you seen this jab? This is not something you want to deal with.
And that's every time I feel like it, I just pretend that they're in a celebrity boxing match, and you're like, oh, you're adorable.
Right. Well, and this isn't everybody who does this, because there's a reason for it, but like the one-man show type thing or something like that. Yeah.
I'm fine with
don't
that.
Say you're stand-up.
If that's how you
or you're doing a Q&A tour.
But there's like people who actually like, I met Koppelman because he did stand-up, but he actually did stand-up.
Right.
He did it for 18 months, but was out 4 to 5 nights a week with a family.
Right.
And you're like, that's a lot of sacrifice, because your nights are gone.
Well, and it's not like Brian Koppelman's demanding money when he walks into where Comedy Store or the Cellar or something when he goes in. So
and he was getting up just to tell jokes, and it's like that. I can. If here's the thing, if you're a celebrity and you want to do stand-up, commit to it, and then give it time, and then people will come around.
Yeah.
I'm a big wrestling fan. My favorite working wrestler right now is The Miz.
He was a Real World guy.
He was a Real World guy.
Road Rules.
No, he was on Real World.
Okay, gotcha.
And he even like did the character on the Real World, and people are like, this is so dumb. And I know wrestling fans, they're like, screw that guy. I'm like, man, nah, he committed. He's in. He's one of the best guys working right now. And it's like, yeah, he might have been a Real World celebrity, but so that's my thing on like, if you're a celebrity and you want to do stand-up, fine, but actually do it.
Yeah, please
don't do it when you just are having a down month because you don't have anything to film.
So you get offered a room somewhere.
Because then I don't
get up there.
I wish all of the bombs on you. I don't wish bombs on anybody.
So you're a wrestling fan. I am a mixed martial arts fan. There's this crossover now, and I'm assuming you're into the business of it since you're talking about that. Vince McMahon is modern day P.T. Barnum. He's so interesting, and there's so much going on with him. What do you think about the crossover? Because it feels like now you have Brock Lesnar now, and this could be a negotiating tactic, but he's now saying, oh, he's taking pictures with Dana White. They're putting it on Instagram. You have the stuff. You have the Ronda Rousey crossover. I wonder if there's some kind of a handshake.
CM Punk got lit up by Mickey Gall. Shout out to Mickey Gall.
Mickey Gall, a dead serious grappler and a very good. He's a great prospect. Like that to me, like that was a weird way to throw it in there. I get it. I know Ben Askren. I know Tyron Woodley. They're both Mizzou guys. They're up training in Milwaukee. And I get it. You're getting thrown in with Sharks if you're training at Duke Rufus's. But CM Punk, dude, you were an actor. And you're going to come in and do that.
Well, I think there's a difference. I think there's a difference between going from MMA to WWE, because I'll say it like this. Punk is one of the greatest wrestlers of all time.
Right.
He's one of the
very
greatest
well
professional wrestlers
respected.
of all time.
Yeah.
And I hope when he comes back,
I hope he does well. I really do.
I hope whether it be New Japan or Ring of Honor, I don't think he'll ever go back to
with professional wrestling.
Yeah.
He's talking, they're saying he's going to do another MMA fight.
Great. And I wish him the best of luck. I think he's 38 years old?
Right.
So he's 38?
Yeah.
So
dude, I'm 33. It hurts to
I'm
play
34.
basketball.
Yeah. So we know how much harder it is actually for him to do that, but I wish him luck in MMA. As a wrestling fan, I'm excited for him to come back to wrestling, whether it be Ring of Honor. And I know he's probably sick of wrestling and hates it and wants to do MMA, and
he's
great.
an interesting guy. He's very focused.
Interesting guy.
Yeah.
But I think Brock Lesnar's you can't compare anyone to Brock Lesnar. Brock Lesnar is an NCAA champion.
He's not even an exciting fighter.
He's a mountain of a man.
He's a movement, man. Yeah. He's crazy.
And so when he was going to go to the UFC, there's kind of this okay, you have to understand he has a wrestling base, which is
he's real.
That's
national champion at heavyweight too.
Yeah. I think Ronda Rousey is going to be a colossal failure at the WWE.
That's what everybody kind of keeps playing with.
I've been watching it my whole life, and Brock Lesnar has Paul Heyman. Also, Brock Lesnar started as a wrestler. So out of college, it's he spent the time doing it. He was, but he had Paul Heyman as a mouthpiece. Ronda Rousey just doesn't seem to have the charisma. She can't act. That's what wrestling mostly is.
Yeah.
It's acting. And I mean,
her shtick was she was just mean and kind of pissy. And then when she started losing, it went away.
I think what she did for the sport of MMA is unbelievable.
It is.
I think she's one of the a historic athlete as far as.
I would love to speak. I'd love to talk to her.
I think Ronda Rousey is a straight up badass. But if we're going to be honest, this isn't in LA. If we're in LA right now, girl, you're going to kill it. She has the warmth of a cold, wet log.
Right.
It is her pointing at the WrestleMania sign at Royal Rumble. I describe it to my wrestling fans as a Lassie moment where they're like, what? And you're like, what's that, girl? And you're like, oh, there's trouble at WrestleMania? And you're like, what's the point of this promo?
Yes.
If you're going to cut a promo in the WWE, it's acting. It's like a monologue. And that's why The Miz is so good, because he goes up there and he gets you to hate him. By the way he's talking, you're like, that's a good wrestler.
Yeah, absolutely.
The heel is so important in wrestling.
Sure.
And Ronda Rousey came in, and immediately I saw when she came in, number one at WrestleMania 32, I believe it was, where she hip tossed Stephanie. She didn't even put her in an arm bar.
Her first, was it in San Francisco?
Yeah, it was at Santa Clara at Levi Stadium.
Yeah.
She didn't do an arm bar, which makes the most sense. You're like, do the thing that you literally hurt people with.
Yeah.
That you hurt people for real with.
Yeah.
And number two, it was you could just tell she wasn't comfortable. And I understand not being comfortable.
Right.
So I gave her another shot at Royal Rumble. I was like, hey man, because there's been rumors that she's working matches. She's been working with trainers. And then you just saw her come out and you're like, all right, either you're a badass or you're friendly. But you can't break. She kept being smiling and being like, it's crazy I'm here. And then looking and be like, but I'm a badass. And you're like, well, what the fuck are you doing?
How would you fix her?
Give her a manager. Give her a great mouthpiece.
Yeah.
Probably pull someone.
And let her just be a dark,
I would give her
figure.
a Alundra Blaze. I would give her an old Divas champion as kind of hey, like Trish Stratus. Bring her back and be like,
sure,
I'm too old, but now I've been training her. A manager is key for people that can't work the mic.
Right. And
Roman Reigns should have had a manager for years now, because he is, great in the ring, fun to look at, but gets on the mic and you're like, yikes.
It's crazy too. Do you have any feelings on the XFL returning in the press conference?
God bless.
What do you think?
No, why?
Is that just a legacy thing for Vince, just because it's one more thing he can
Honestly,
dominate? I don't know.
As a wrestling fan, I like it.
Yeah.
Because now Triple H gets to run WWE.
Is he doing it right?
Yeah, I mean, that's a guy that knows. It's like a comic running a comedy club.
Right,
it could go wrong, but most of the time they're going to nail a lot of the things.
People are going to enjoy it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense, too. Yeah, it's interesting that it's such a phenomenon at this point, too.
Yeah. I mean, he's done such a great job. Like, calling him the modern-day P.T. Barnum is a really great way of... that's going to be an interesting movie when he dies and they decide to make that biop.
I kind of want to see it now.
I mean, just the relationship with his father and that kind of stuff. Like, he didn't grow up rich. He grew up with nothing and scrapped his way to being a billionaire.
Well, and I've talked to Jake the Snake. I've talked to Jeff Jarrett, even who's a lot of controversy, right now with his
going to the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, so
there's a lot of other guys that feel like they should be in there first.
Well, and that's interesting. I wonder if that's a business move. If they're going to do something with his. He has Global Force Wrestling, right? Like maybe there's who knows.
I think the WWE is more concerned with other New Japan and Ring of Honor. I don't think they're really concerned.
But what if they cut it? Like when we talked to Jake the Snake, he was unfiltered. He's talking about doing blow, hanging out by a pool. Vince wouldn't let him get He thought he was getting too muscular because they wanted him to look like an everyman. He gave it all up. Does a story like Vince McMahon's get told with the Raw stuff in there? Because he's seen some stuff that would, all the exposing of people, that guy's seen some things.
If you're going to make a biop about anyone, it can't be made by someone that's associated with the person.
That was a little bit of my issue. Sorry, please.
Best example of that is Notorious, the B.I.G. movie.
I would have even said Straight Outta Compton, too.
Oh, that was Dr. Dre wrote this.
Right. Like where's the part where you tune up that lady?
Yeah, what happened to D. Barnes? What happened to the point where, it's all of a sudden, it's like, no, Dre gets it. And you're like, oh, so Dre wrote the movie? But in Biggie's movie, Notorious, you're like, oh, Puff Daddy wrote this. Right. Because every scene, they're like, yo, there's this genius coming to the studio named Sean Combs. And you're like, oh, really? That's how it was? It just made
that's what happens.
And then there's that scene where there's Big J, and I always make fun of this on the Bonfire on Comedy Central Radio, but it's always like that biop scene where it's like Biggie's like, oh yeah, I guess my whole life is rapping. And you're like, oh, he had that moment. It wasn't small little things. He's just like, oh, I guess I gotta get off these streets and get in these studios. And you're like, or did Biggie was he just good?
Right.
And then it's
something he did.
There's nothing sexy in success. There's nothing sexy about success. Just like there's no easy way to lose weight. It's diet and exercise.
Move more, eat less.
Move more, eat less.
Yeah.
Success is fail a lot, learn from it, get better.
Have you ever had a discussion with Paul Giamatti about working on that film?
My interactions with Paul are pretty limited because he's on the other side of the law.
Yeah, and that's the thing that with film and TV that people don't always realize too. Proximity and time and schedules. I think we all like to picture you guys like getting coffee together, hanging out, Paul dropping by, seeing you at the cellar.
What are you guys feeling over here? Paul Giamatti is legitimately one of the best people I've ever met in my life. It's just far as cool guy. I mean, that's what I mean, top down. That whole cast. Damian Lewis is unbelievable.
Right.
An unbelievable actor, but then just a great, fun guy where you're where it's like those people at work when you see your work friend, you're like, hey, what's up? We did a scene yesterday.
Right.
Or 2 days ago, and I'm like, hey! And then you're like, oh yeah. And then the cameras start rolling, you're like, oh, this is one of the best dudes out there. I got to pick it up.
Bring your own.
Yeah, it's funny. It's like swimming with sharks. You're just like, oh, I forgot that you're just a straight up killing machine.
Right, yeah. People forget that. Until you see a wild animal in the wild, and you're like, oh, that could eat me. This is better than me.
Yeah. But that's how I feel. That's what I loved so much about moving to New York for stand-up. Was when I moved there, it was you just saw all the sharks. It was Patrice O'Neill, Greg Giraldo, Dave Attell, Louis was going up, Rock, and then Gary Goldman, and there's just so many great comics.
Gary.
Yeah,
another tall, funny man that I like to hang out with.
He's the funniest tall man out there.
He's fantastic. Yeah,
and
how great is it that you're going to tell me that you've done something like this. He played football at Boston College.
Oh, no. I got nothing like that.
If you speak to him, you're like, this is the nicest, gentle giant. I'm sorry. If you play tight end at Division I football, whether you know how to or not, if he gets a hold of you, he can do whatever he wants to you.
He played tight end with Mark Tremura.
Yes.
From the Green Bay Packers.
It's fantastic.
Also got caught sleeping with his 16-year-old babysitter.
Generally a bad
Mark
thing.
Chimura. Not Gary Goldman. Gary Goldman, fantastic human.
Let's not mix those
fantastic comedian.
So Gary Goldman slept with that girl where?
I will not back that. Gary Goldman.
Dan Soder tweeted out.
Yeah, one of the best comics. And then just to be like a great guy. And it's
Sweet is the first word I think of when I think of Gary Goldman.
And the best joke writer. And
Absolutely.
him and David Tell.
As far as Netflix goes, you're on the stand-ups, right?
Yeah.
You guys can check that out on Netflix. Nikki Glazer, Beth Stelling.
Nate Bargatze.
Nate's
Dion
hilarious.
Cole, Fortune
Yes.
Feinster.
What has been your experience or with the access of a shorter set infused into Netflix and, millions upon millions being able to see it? Did you like the setup of that or do you want the full hour?
I mean, I don't know if we're going to be how honest you want to be here, but I did an hour on Comedy Central and no one knows that.
Yeah. That's really disappointing.
There you
You're
go,
very
Cable.
funny.
There you go, Cable.
Yeah.
You lost. You lost, you idiots.
What did you do, 20?
I spent 11 or 12 years working on an hour. I did a half hour for Comedy Central.
Right.
And then was very lucky to get an hour with Comedy Central, which used to be a crown jewel.
Yeah.
And no one saw it.
What?
No one, like you put in
That's one of those
so
things.
much work. It's
You're like I've made it. I've done it. I'm on this show and this should be everything now. And then
and people are like, oh, you did? But Netflix is different. There's appointment television is very, very rare these days.
Right.
Very rare for someone to sit down. It's usually award shows, a finale, a season finale. It's something.
You see how AMC does it with Walking Dead, how they how they
make
air
it.
things. Yeah.
Having a half hour on Netflix is just like people just have unlimited access to it.
Well, I can sit there and we had Beth Stelling in last week. Who admittedly didn't know a ton about before that.
Yeah.
I check out, I sit there and before I go into my morning radio show, I can digest a piece of something that she's created, just knock it out, have a cup of coffee, watch that, and it's there and it's not an issue. It's on demand.
And you can watch it when you want to watch it. And I think that's a real big thing. And I think that's one of the reasons that HBO's staying successful is HBO Go.
Correct.
Creates both appointment television and the ability to just instantly access it.
Well, it is too. And then the thought of, I have an hour in my day and I'm going to sit here and do nothing but watch this. Like right now, it's definitely a nice
Whereas
thing.
Comedy Central was like, are you home at 11 p.m. on a Friday? Dan Soder. No. What about 3 a.m. on a Wednesday?
I was going to say.
We won't tell Dan to promote it.
Right.
Fucking
Has that been
morons.
different? Has Netflix, well, first of all, Netflix is its own PR machine that you're just simply there.
When they put you on the front page,
Yeah.
it's a seismic shift. It is so different.
Notice a difference in your crowds?
Yeah. I mean, more people.
More people?
More like
Still
listen.
feel like you're getting educated crowds?
Yeah, I mean, SiriusXM and Netflix have been two things that I've seen where you're like, oh, a lot of people, more people than you really realize.
Your
watch
show's
both of
very
these
popular. It is.
The Bonfire?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just lucky about that, man. That's pure luck. The fact that Jay and I get to do that show with the crew that we get to do that show with.
Okay. Yeah, I was like, well, your
is-
talent has provided you the opportunity,
Sure,
but
if you
you'd
want,
luck for it
I
to
don't
come
think I'd
together.
ever look at it like that because it is so much fucking fun to do that show.
You feel like you're like, I don't deserve this. Yeah.
Man, going in at 5 o'clock and seeing Jay and just being able to sit around and bullshit for 2 hours about whatever we want. I'm talking about whatever we want.
Right.
With no rules. Comedy Central has been so great as far as just like getting out of our way, letting us be funny. And I think there's like an earnest friendship that you just get to listen to.
Correct.
And
That's
it's like,
huge because that you can't fake that.
which is also something where I've been pretty, like Jay and I have talked about it, and it's like, if it ever got to the point where it started being more for the show, then I don't really know if I'd be interested in doing that.
Especially with the opportunities you have now. Like,
Yeah, maybe. Jay and I have so much fun together that it's like, I want to keep it in that space where it's just like, this is going to be fucking, we get to go do Bonfire.
that's so great to
and
hear,
annoying
too.
people in the building and being kind of like, Nikki Glazer just got a show on
She
Comedy
did.
Central
I was
Radio.
about to say the same. I was like,
It's
I wonder.
called You Up. It's actually called You Up. But Jay and I like saying it like a command.
Yeah.
You up.
Well, she's from St. Louis, and we
Hell yeah,
actually
she is.
we went out to L.A. when we were out there. We went and sat in. Her boyfriend's brother was a producer on there. He's a friend of ours. He's a comic here in town, and he was working on that show. So we got to go see a taping and all that stuff, and it was so cool to see that. And then they had good ratings, from what I understood. And then what do? Bop, see ya. Bye. And Nikki's a female comic that you would think in 2017 they're going to push that hard. But then
mistakes were made. Comedy Central made some mistakes, but then they gave her a radio show.
Right, but that's maybe it's similar to what you dealt with, man. I mean,
yeah, but I think Nikki's like, that's a big deal, a morning show, and they kind of. But listen, that's what Jay and I love. It's like we're the child that lives in the basement that has their own entrance.
Right.
We're kind of like, I don't know, my kid's 15 going on 40.
Yeah.
And you're like, yeah, fucking, I don't know. And it's like, I'd rather, she's like the love, like she's the golden child.
Yeah.
So Jay and I joke about that because Jay and I are both from, we call ourselves Sons of Gary. That's our biker gang.
Of course.
Gary is a synonym for a shitty dad.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of like we both had deadbeat dads named Gary. And we're cool with that. We like that role.
Right.
Leave us alone. We'll be in the garage smoking cigarettes.
Right. Like it's a known thing.
I'm not going to bother you. There's not going to be an honor roll magnet on the fridge for
And we're
us.
okay with that because you haven't called them out that they didn't take you to practice.
Oh, no, we did. We call them out all the time.
Oh, well, yeah, you have to do that.
One time, the guys from Comedy Central, Jeremy and Jordy, who we love, like we love those guys, and they're great, and they really support the show. And they were like supposed to come in, and they were late, and we're like, how dare you? 2 kids with dad issues.
Yes.
And you're not picking us up from practice on time?
Right.
You assholes.
And then you don't want to evoke that. Again, big Jay Okerson and yourself.
Yeah.
I mean, if you go after a couple executives from Comedy Central,
yeah,
I'm guessing it's not going to
tear
go well for
apart.
them.
Well,
Right.
I don't think we're physically assaulted. Guys, Bonfire got canceled. Jay and I beat the shit out of a guy from Viacom.
That's typically how it works, right?
yeah.
Yeah, you want to go after people like that.
Yeah.
Dude, so you have all these really cool opportunities.
Yeah.
You obviously, again, no personal life. You're just grinding
None,
away,
man.
which
I
is
got 3 jobs, dude.
kind of the only way to do it, though. In
Dude,
today's, like, trying to get a hold of people, hey, over here, doing something really cool.
I'm off apps. I'm off. I'm trying to like meet people the old-fashioned way.
Look at you.
Yeah, Doug Stanhope was on our show on the Bonfire, which was
He's an interesting cat.
He's one of the best comedians of all time.
Absolutely.
But he said something that's like really stuck with me the past couple of weeks, where he said, "Love is 90% smell," and that sounds crazy, right?
Go on.
The past 2 girls I've dated off apps have been very good looking, very fun to text with, but then you get in a room and you're like, why isn't there something here? There's something, and I really feel like dating apps, you miss out on someone's energy, their pheromones, the way they smell, the way they carry themselves.
Yes.
I think that's a big difference, and I think that's like, dating might be easier as far as time-wise with apps, but I think what you're really missing is...
If you want to have a busy week.
Yeah. But I think if you meet someone off an app, like immediately go out with them.
Right.
Like don't do like, it's like, do you want to go out? Let's just see who we are.
Let's go feel this out.
I think the app should just be a quick starter to like...
I think we do that with social media in general. Think about how many people physically threaten other people that if they were sitting across the room from each other would never even think to speak like that.
Have you ever met a troll?
To a degree, I'll think of one. There's a reporter that had some issues with us in the paper here, which is so hilarious because we don't care about that stuff. But
those are the original trolls.
Yeah, right. But as far as an online troll, man, I've had a few little things where I'm like, didn't you say this? I'll just make it uncomfortable to do whatever.
Oh, you met him in person?
Yeah, for sure.
Well, I've called him out.
But I've also never... If people are going to do that, like, listen, I've been around real tough people. Real tough people don't do that kind of stuff. So it's never...
They don't talk.
Yeah,
they just beat the shit out of you.
They're just like, I'm going to sit here and wait, and this is going to happen.
Well, it's also like... There's a lot of anger that I think human beings carry around with them, where social media has become this outlet where you don't have repercussions for letting out your anger because you're like, no one happy is trolling.
I think it manufactures anger, too. Just
No
maybe
one
you're bored
wakes up and is like, what a great morning. I'm going to tweet at Jennifer Lawrence and call her a slut.
Right.
And you're like, yeah, that's the sign of a fucking well-balanced person.
Yeah.
But also when you see those people, when you push back on them, you realize it's like, if anything, it's like, oh, you're broken. And you're broken in a way where you felt calling me a fag and threatening to beat my ass.
Right.
And now we're face to face. And now you see I'm 6'3" and 210 and have a little bit of an anger problem.
Yes.
You ain't gonna talk that shit.
No.
Because I'll make you drink your meals out of a fucking straw.
I like where you're headed with that.
But it really is. There was this. It's a story that I've told before, but this guy in Texas, I was doing a show, and he tweeted at me, he's like, you better be funny. And I wrote like, hey man, turn around. I don't want to make you laugh. And it got like, he, talked some shit.
Yeah.
And then after the show, he's like, hey man, I'm the one that tweeted you. And I'm like, why the fuck would you do that?
Right.
And he's there with his wife, and he's just like, I was
Like he thought it was like we're palling around.
I ain't your pal.
No.
You don't know me.
Yeah.
You don't know me at all. Unless we've been in a room and talked and you can smell my pheromones, you don't fucking know me.
That's a way, man. And that's I grew up in a town called Farmington, Missouri.
Yeah.
And I always say like, don't make the Farmington come out, man.
Yeah,
like,
dude. I'm from Aurora, Colorado.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean I'm going to mass shoot you.
Well,
I mean,
sure.
I'm going to like.
Thank you for clarifying.
Yeah.
We were all thinking
That's what always sucks about being from Aurora. It was already a place that people from Denver look down upon because it's basically just like a suburb removed from Denver.
Right.
Like, are you from Aurora? And then that happens, and then people who aren't from Colorado now are like, Aurora, and you're like, that's not our thing. We're good people.
The St. Louis thing, people are like, oh, you're going to get shot. And then I'm like, yeah, maybe.
Oh, I go Nelly.
Do you? Good
I go,
for you.
so you're a St. Lunatic.
Okay. Yeah, I saw a tweet that you said you wanted to rank the St. Lunatics.
In file of loyalty to Nelly.
Nelly.
I want to know which one of the St. Lunatics are still calling him.
Right.
Like, Nelly, you good? He's like, yeah. Hey, what's up? Guy that wore a mask. I don't know his name. I just know a guy wore a mask.
Kiwan, I think.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, I mean, don't.
I love that you guys know.
Yeah, I was going to say it's kind of like.
That'd be like if I knew all of John Denver's backing bands.
I was going to say,
like,
who's your Nelly in
the Flying Burrito Brothers, John Denver.
Sure.
Who else is from Denver? The band 303.
Oh, wow.
Comics. It's like kind of cool. Roseanne and Tim Allen are both, I think, from Aurora.
Are they? Okay. I didn't realize that. Tim Allen's had a really interesting career. Even Roseanne, just unstoppable.
Best show of all
too.
time.
What are we going to see from you coming up? So obviously Helium Comedy Club this weekend. Go see him.
Helium Comedy Club. Billions Season 3, March 25th.
Very cool.
Bonfire, Monday through Thursday, 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern. So that would be 5 to 7 Central on Sirius XM, Channel 95, Comedy Central Radio. Follow me at Dan Soder on Twitter and Instagram. I'm kind of off Twitter. I only tweet when I'm at home to promote stuff on my laptop.
good.
But Instagram I'm on.
Yeah.
That's my vice,
That's
my
what you
app
go through.
vice.
Yeah, that's
that and Bleacher
it's visually
Report.
pleasing. Why not?
Yeah, you could stalk ex-girlfriends from a safe distance.
I mean, who would ever do that?
I don't
Dan
do
Soder?
that. I don't do that at all.
Slap
I'm over
Sherrod Small in the nuts for me the next time.
Absolutely not. Have you felt that man's hand strength? He will crush you.
Hey, thanks for coming by.
Thanks
dude.
for having me, dude.
Awesome.